Hey, welcome to another episode of Unmedicated Disaster. My name's Al.
And my name doesn't matter because I'm just a woman. What? I thought we're not just diving into it right off the bat. I feel like we need to dive into it off the bat.
Not right.
Okay, my birth certificate says Danielle, so we'll go with that, I guess. But not like it matters.
Here, I have a better introduction.
Oh no, we're going with
No, I have a better introduction. Ready?
The look on your face though was great. That's gonna be one of those.
Remember, our state is still positive for women.
For now.
For now, this is very true. Okay, ready?
God, okay.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Unmedicated Disaster. My name's Al, and that's Danielle. And I know we usually let her introduce herself, but because women have no rights anymore, I guess I'll do it for her.
Yeah, Al's going to be speaking for me from this point forward because nothing I have to say matters.
Yeah, no, the United States decided that women don't really matter, have no choice, and have no say in whatever they do. So, I guess we're just going to follow along with whatever the fuck some nut job person of color in the Supreme Court and his white, kiss-ass buddies do. So, which is shocking because usually the white people say no to whatever the black person has to say, but if it fits their agenda, I guess the black person's the hero, and that's why he's the most spoken of all of them.
Yeah, I'm convinced that Clarence Thomas thinks he's white or is angry about the fact that he's not.
100% he thinks he's white. He married a white woman. No offense to people who marry white women, but the way that he looks. Have you ever seen most of his pictures for the Supreme Court? He's not happily married, but he thinks he's white.
I can't. I know the episode before this was very angry. And then we took a little break. I completely lost my voice. It is still, I'm sure you can hear, not back to 100%. It was a mess. Al was sick. I was sick.
Yeah.
Not COVID as far as we know.
No. Weird.
But there were lots of COVID tests taken, all were negative. So, we didn't anticipate that long of a break, nor did we anticipate having to make another wildly angry episode this early on. But it seems like every minute we turn around, there's some new fuckery happening. So we need to do some catching up because I'm still angry. I'm angrier than the last time we did this.
And here's the weird part, because we thought it was like, oh, shit's happening. It's really bad outside the United States. And then, like a switch, everything just crumbled over here. And I thought the war was in Ukraine, not here.
Like, we knew things weren't great, but for it to have gone so sideways so fast, we probably shouldn't have been surprised. But I'm a little bit surprised. I didn't anticipate so much to fall so quickly. Yeah. But honestly, before we get into, these they're going to be related, but before we get super deep into the Roe v. Wade thing, obviously, we did miss talking about the latest school massacre in Uvalde. I can never say it. Uvalde, Texas. Where again, we have kids that not only were shot and killed in their classroom by an unhinged person who legally purchased was semi-automatic, is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a gun nut, so I don't know the ins and outs, but it was an AR-15, two of them, with hundreds of rounds of ammo, legally purchased on, after their 18th birthday. Not only were these kids and teachers gunned down in school, the police stood around and did nothing. And the police not only stood around and did nothing, they were refusing to release any body camera footage or any internal whatever about that shooting and their reaction to it because it could embarrass them. It would
do a whole lot more than embarrass them. It would probably start up a huge, and let's be honest. We understand that we're at, sort of at war with Russia. We're not really there, but I mean, who's to say we're not? Somebody's not going to slip.
Oh, World War III is going to start any second,
Right.
especially if this country keeps going
But
sideways.
here's the worst part: is that there's technically right now a war within the United States, and I'm not saying war like it's time for everybody to shoot each other up. I'm saying that there's like a very strong political war.
Well, a moral war, an ideology, a war of ideologies.
All of it, because I mean, some politics are bred from ideologies.
Basically, the white Christians are at war with everyone else, and it's getting out of control.
And you know what? I feel like that's within itself just a disguise for what's happening.
Yeah, and
because at the very core of it, these people are not religious. They keep saying, "Oh, religion is very powerful. Christianity is very powerful in the United States." It's not.
It's the people who identify as Christians.
Right.
Which is a disgrace to the name of Jesus Christ.
Right. Because there's a ton of people, especially in politics, that don't actually go to church.
No, they don't.
So you can't claim that you're, religious in any way, shape, or form if you don't even go to church every Sunday or whatever. And if you did go to church and you actually did follow...
Ooh, that's the thing. It doesn't even have to go about physically going to church. It has to go with reading the fucking Bible and knowing what it does and does not say.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they read. I mean, look at the Justice Department or the Supreme Court. They know how to read, and they still fucked it up.
Oh, because they don't care. Because all these straw man arguments about, oh, well, the Bible says, no, it doesn't. The Bible doesn't say. Yeah. It does not say. You can go to the Bible and read it, and it does not say.
Yeah. And then what's shocking is that after what happened in Uvalde, the Supreme Court was like, we can't take the rights of guns from people.
We don't. You can't.
We can't allow the states to say what they should or shouldn't do in their own state.
Yeah, New York can't require, what was it, to applications and needing proof why you need to conceal carry. You can't do that. Well, I mean, to be fair, I guess it's kind of hard to conceal carry an AR-15, but what do I know about guns? But yeah, all those kids murdered. And then it turns out that if anybody had bothered trying to get to those children, some of them would still likely be alive because they were alive, but they had to wait for an hour. And then when parents tried to get into the school, they were tased or pepper sprayed or handcuffed.
Yes.
The one mom who did go into that school was threatened with having her probation taken away. Now, I don't know her situation, but they said if, we're going to, you're going to lose your probation, we're going to arrest you and this and that. And she had to go to court. She had to go to court. And the judge was like, I can't even believe this right now. The judge was disgusted in the police for it. But we're supposed to sit here and believe that these cops are good people. They're not. When I say all cops are bastards, I mean all of them. All of them. And we just kind of joked about it this morning. That includes Judy Hopps, Olivia Benson, Charlie Swan. It's everybody. All of you. And that's, it is, because if you are at this point, if you are a law enforcement officer, a cop, SWAT, whatever you want to pretend to be, you are complicit in this system. There are no good cops. And even if you went into it and said, you know what, no, I'm going to be different, I want to make change, you're either going to get run out, fired, or taken out of the line of duty, if you know what I'm saying. Because that's what happens. Because there are no good cops. And anybody who started out as a good cop either becomes a bad cop or is no longer a cop.
And I'm sorry if this becomes frustrating, something that you're tired of hearing and you've been constantly listening to for the last couple of weeks ever since the shooting happened. Because it's always being brought up whenever new information is found. Not, it's found. It's because not all the information was put out there. And the most recent one was that one of the police officers, whose wife was there, texted him saying, I'm bleeding to death, was then handcuffed and restrained by all his buddies because he wasn't allowed to go in there.
Oh, I hadn't even heard of that.
Guns blazing. Oh, you didn't hear about it?
Mm. Well, I honestly, we also spoke of,
right.
I am so tired. No. I'm so tired. I can't.
Oh, no. So, there was an officer who tried to, when he was inside,
to go get his wife.
He was just like, screw this. Like, no, like, she's done. Yeah. Like, he was noticing that they weren't giving the go ahead forward, go taken in. And
so he was stopped from doing his
footage, not from the police, but like from the school footage of they had barriers, they had guns, they were just standing around, not doing anything.
Just waiting.
And the one officer was like, my wife is probably dead now. Like he's like, I'm gonna go. And they stripped him of his weapons. They arrested him.
And you're gonna try to convince me that the cops weren't complicit in that entire situation?
100%.
They made a choice not to go into that school
100%
because it was full of little brown kids, and they didn't give a shit.
They probably didn't feel the need to protect all of them.
But God forbid, we do anything about the guns. If anything, the Supreme Court has now made it easier for people in New York to get guns, just because it's New York.
Yeah.
And we can't abridge the God-given right to bear arms. We can't take away the right that was placed in the Bill of Rights, Second Amendment, written in the 1780s or 90s?
Way too long ago.
When a single loader musket that took 2 or 3 minutes to fucking load was the height of technical advancement. But you know what we can do? We can have people go into the Supreme Court who perjured themselves at their hearings before they were appointed to the Supreme Court, who were appointed by presidents that did not win their elections by the popular vote. Go in and say, you know what? Guns, we love guns. We're going to protect the guns. But you know who we don't love? Fucking women.
No, they do love fucking women. They don't want to.
True, I take it back. Women who they love to fuck. But they can't have rights. And I know by the time anybody listens to this, the Roe v. Wade discourse is going to be very played out as well. But the implications.
And again, I said this in the last episode. You're gonna get tired of hearing about it, and the conversation should never end. Whether it's Uvalde, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's women's rights, those conversations shouldn't end, because guess what? Women's rights was always in the brink of just disappearing, and now it's gone.
Mm-hmm. And
so what happens is everybody thought we're safe now, we're okay. We weren't. There were people who were smarter than others that said, hey, this needs to be, what is it? Codified.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no way that people can take it away. It wasn't. Thank you, Democrats. And now it's gone.
Yeah. Because we thought we were safe, because everybody told us that Roe v. Wade was law. That was the law of the land. It was a done deal. And then they got into the court and said, just kidding, and took it all away.
And what's shocking is when I found out, once I started getting more into the rules of politics and, these seats of higher power, basically in the United States, where these people, because we can't forget that at the end of the day, these are people just like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
They got an education. They worked for a while. They're still people, and they suffer no consequence. You do understand that people can lie. I can go on this podcast and lie and say something with a super serious face, and people will believe me. But I'm still lying. Mm-hmm. And, of course, for the poor, if you lie under oath, you're shit out of luck. But you're telling me that a fucking Supreme Court judge can lie under oath and everything will be fine?
Because the Supreme Court is the only court that the justices have no ethics rules they need to abide by. They have no ethics standards. And that comes back to the whole idea of there are rules and laws and procedures that are written. I think some other things came up with the Trump administration, whatever, that these things are written, but the people who wrote them could not imagine ever actually needing to use them. So nobody knows who prosecutes anything.
But that's what gets me upset. It was like, you didn't think that people can lie, cheat, and steal, kill, murder, rape?
The Supreme Court was always supposed to be,
they're humans.
I am aware of this. But the fact that it has fallen so far, so fast.
They never thought a president would do what Trump did, but there he
is. And now we have no way to prosecute him for it.
But that's what drives me insane, is that these actions are not new to the human populace. we're humans. Men lie, men steal, men cheat, and they murder.
I mean, women
and
too,
you
but
think
for a
that
far lesser
what?
extent.
Just because someone did this, I swear to God that I would what? And okay, well, they swore to God. I mean, so I guess
it's easy to swear to God when clearly
I'm sorry, they don't put their hand over their chest.
Whatever they do,
whatever they do,
but they swear to a God they clearly don't believe in because they don't follow any of their teachings.
Yeah, and I think we need to call it what it is, because these people, and you know exactly who these people that I'm talking about. They got offended because we call them racist. They got offended because we call them
bigots, or white supremacists,
or misogynists, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, they are literally white supremacists at its core. Like, they're no longer hiding it. And if you're part of the party because you're like, well, I'm Republican, so I'm going to vote Republican, you do realize that there's no equal sides over here. You've got to be either blind, ignorant, or a white supremacist yourself to realize that there's two very different sides. And you've been brainwashed to believe that, oh, the extremist left. What we fight for, what the left, what
we want equality. We want equality. We want justice. We want people to be able to get sick and not lose their home because of it. We want children to be safe in their schools. We want people to be able to be educated and have fulfilling jobs where they work and contribute to the economy but can still afford to live. We want all these crazy, wild things.
Crazy things that are
found. And the Republicans want just to be hateful pieces of shit for no good reason.
But what is it that we want? All those things that you listed, mm-hmm. you can find over in Europe.
Absolutely.
You can find in tons of other countries, not just Europe.
It's the American exceptionalism.
Everywhere. But that's the thing. These are common things. This isn't extreme. This is just the world has evolved and people have evolved with it. And as new as a country the United States is, for whatever reason, they just can't seem to catch up.
We are on a backslide. It's not even catching up.
Instead of trying to catch up, what we're doing is falling further and further behind. And people need to stop pretending with a straight face, thinking, no, these two sides are the same.
No.
Because there clearly isn't.
And at this point, it's not that you're stupid.
You're not.
It's that you are willfully ignorant. You're
doing it on purpose.
Yeah, you're either willfully ignorant or you're fine with it.
Yeah.
And people say, well, the Constitution, that the Constitution, and again, we're hammering the same shit home we had to talk about before. The Constitution was never meant to be a permanent document. It was supposed to get ripped up every 20 or 25 years and rewritten to move with the times. And even with that, the Supreme Court ruling with Roe v. Wade, they argue that abortion was not mentioned in the Constitution. Therefore, it is not a federal issue. It needs to be decided by the states. But what they neglect to tell you is that abortion wasn't ever mentioned because it was no big fucking deal when the Constitution was written. They didn't care. Men stayed out of it because it was women's business. So they had no reason to talk about it. Women took care of their own business. Nobody cared. It wasn't until, the mid-1800s when everybody started their purity bullshit that all of a sudden it started to become an issue. And here we go. So we have just been on this skid, and it's like, if the founding fathers, for all their many, many flaws, could see what has been done to this country and what they fought for and what they set out to create, they would just be out here slapping bitches left and right because this is not what they wanted. This is not the plan.
Can we just do people realize that when the Constitution was made, that phones didn't even exist back then?
No.
Like, do you understand how fucking ancient this Constitution is that they're trying to uphold so many years later? Phones did not exist. Phones became popular. Everyone has them now in their home. And we still can't fix this ancient relic that this country abides for. Now, are some of the things they're useful? Sure. fine. But they need fixing because they need to. It's like if technology evolved, but the phones never changed. You still had your own flip phone with all these new apps and all these new programs, and your phone can't do shit because
it can't function because it needs to be updated.
Do you see what I mean?
It's a great analogy, Al.
But it's there. It's bare in your face, and some people just can't seem to understand that. And you don't need a fucking college degree to understand that.
Yeah, it's not. It's not hard.
Common sense. It's not ethics. It's just common fucking sense.
Well, and the argument that they're using about, abortion wasn't in the Constitution. Well, neither was like an assault rifle, because those people couldn't wrap their heads around the idea of a gun, a weapon that was that advanced and that easy to use to kill large numbers of people at once. It wasn't a thought in their heads. So they wrote a thing saying, yes, you need to, have a right to do this and that. Yeah, not thinking we would be here. And I guess what I also don't understand about the gun people, it is, first of all, the words well-regulated are right in the amendment, which I know we tend to ignore.
Yeah, because
that doesn't fit the narrative.
Agenda, yeah.
But the whole... I don't understand where these right-wingers come from, because they want to have their guns to stand up against a tyrannical government. So all of a sudden, you're going to fight those cops and soldiers that you love so much?
There was someone on TikTok that I was listening to, and they brought that very important point up. It was like, we have to fight the tyrannical government. The government that spends the most.
Yeah, you don't stand up. Your one fucking rifle stands no chance about the United States government.
But that's the thing. The government has the most money spent.
And we are so far beyond.
Army, right?
Yeah, our defense spending.
They don't need to come knocking at your home. They know exactly where you are. Mm-hmm. Okay?
They know if you own
have
guns.
A phone? You have a phone? They know where you are, by the way. They could search up every fucking information to know what guns you have, how many guns you have, how many you purchased, when you purchased them. They have all that information. They don't need to come knocking at your door. They have a drone for that.
Yeah. By the time they
done.
Yeah.
You won't even see it coming. You'll be like, I don't see any police officers. I should be fine. And now you're dead.
Yeah. It's like,
so we need to cut
the whole talk about how Texas is going to secede.
Uh-huh.
You know what? Let them.
Yeah.
Because again, there was we'll find the videos and link them down below. But there was a TikToker who's like, let's break it down. What's going to happen if Texas were to secede? The first thing, all of your federally funded programs, food stamps, WIC, healthcare subsidies, anything, gone. National Guard, gone. Every bit of
doesn't belong to you.
Every bit of military, gone.
Yeah.
You are not on the United States power grid, so you can have that. But guess what? Those are United States oil reserves, and guess what? We can defend them better than you can. Oh, and you're just going to trade all your stuff to other countries? Guess what? Mm-hmm. We just blockaded everywhere around you.
And you know what you're not going to be defended for? Mexican.
And
Mexico.
Your communications, guess what? All those satellites belong to the United States. Your cell phone towers belong to the United States. You can't get any FCC or trade things because you're not an independent country, and all those companies aren't going to side with Texas out of anybody.
Yeah, it's like
so try it.
They have this idea, and they can't bother to look a step further than that idea. Besides, well, we thought because we were a part, and I was like, you thought you were a part. And that ended the second you weren't a part of this. So if you want to become your own country, that's fine. You can go back to Mexico since the United States took it from Mexico.
I love the Mexicans just wreck Texas.
Just like, it was like, hey, you see this
shit.
fence? If you take it down, the United States isn't going to do anything about it. We'll actually put a fence around Texas instead.
Yeah, if we could just fence in Texas and just let it,
And it's just like, and Canada's not going to get involved. They'll be like, hey, can we have Alaska instead? But
honestly, it would be nice for Alaska to be part of Canada.
It would only make sense whenever you look at the fucking map.
It'd be good for them. Like, they'd get socialized
here's
healthcare.
The United States. And there.
Yeah. And while we're at it, we can also decolonize Hawaii, and they can go back to being their own independent nation as well. I know that's an aside, but we do see you, Hawaii.
Yeah, we do. And they should have their own country.
Their sovereignty.
I say country, but...
Well, it would be country, yeah.
They should have their own islands to themselves. And,
Fuck the colonizers.
Right.
But, Yeah, so a big thing in the Constitution is also the separation of church and state. And look where we are, all these arguments about, but the Bible says what the Bible says. And what I think is hilarious, and I don't know if I've told you this or not, when I was young, I mean, way too young to even be thinking about these things, which shows you how indoctrinated children are.
Yeah.
I want to say I was maybe 10, 11. Like I was young.
Yeah.
I went, because I was raised Catholic. I'm sorry. I went on a bus trip to a pro-life rally in Washington, D.C. as part of the pro-life side of things because I didn't know any better. They looked at me and said, do you want people to not kill babies? And I'm like, of course I don't want babies to get killed because it's terrible. I'm 10 years old and you're telling me this. And we got down to Washington, and I think this is where I started my split from the Catholic Church. They're all down there with their, anti-choice rhetoric. And there were counter-protesters, the pro-choice people, who were the only ones who took any time to explain anything to a wayward child. Because I was like, I don't understand what's happening here because I'm 10 years old and this is crazy. And the Catholic people had all the scary signs with like, I'm not going to describe it in detail, but you can imagine the kind of things they share. And I'm like, this is terrible. And then you had the counter protesters and they were like, hello, young child. Can we speak to you?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I got nowhere to be. Nobody's paying attention. My mom wasn't there. It was just literally me on this thing. It was a different time. And they explained, sometimes these things happen and kind of, what if, what if the mommy's sick and they're going to die? Or what if the baby's really sick and can't this and that? And I was like, well, I wouldn't want the mommy to die, but it's not even a baby yet. They said people out here murdering babies. I don't see any babies getting murdered. And that's when I kind of started to realize that the Catholic Church is a bunch of fucking liars.
Yeah.
So, but it was pretty telling that they would just essentially lie to somebody to try to make them have an emotional response to these things, which is why we've talked about we got to stop saying abort the baby. It's not a baby. Right. It is a fetus. It is a clump of cells. It is a parasite. Yes. Which I know we've both worked on trying to use the correct terminology. And that indoctrination that they put through, like I was lucky that my family was more progressive. And it was one of the things like, you want to go ahead. I know, like whatever. But I think my mom knew that I was going to come back being like, hey, what the fuck? But these families that are hardcore Christians who, like I was watching after Roe v. Wade was overturned, the protest, and you had your anti-choice and your pro-choice people. Let's stop calling them pro-life. They're anti-choice.
Yeah.
And how many children who they don't understand the repercussions. They don't understand what any of this means. I didn't understand. I went but then I learned and I listened, and these people aren't given the opportunity because they're out there with their families and, oh yeah, go, yeah, now women can't choose what to do with their own bodies. That's a great thing because they don't get it yet. Mm-hmm. And watching that and seeing the look of glee on these people's faces, women and men, which fuck every man who's out there, you have no fucking business.
Yeah.
And I even, the day it happened, Al and I were, we were together and we saw on the TV, that it came down, these people. And I remember I looked at you and I said, I am having horrible thoughts as to what I want to happen to these people. Horrible thoughts. Because I want the worst things to happen to them. And then I want them to be put in a position where they're going to have to suffer through this situation. And then go there and be like, oh, thoughts and prayers. Oh, you can't get an abortion? Live with it. It's a blessing from God, remember?
And everybody's saying it though. It's not the rich white women that have to. They're exempt from this rule.
It will always be accessible.
When you think that, oh well, all women are going to suffer, and all these Republican women are going to figure out and find out the hard. They're not.
Not the well-to-do ones.
Because they'll go to another state. Every red state there are blue cities. They're the ones that they're targeting. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that they want out. They want you to get out of the state. They want you to move away from the state. Hey, if you want to move away from the state and then get an abortion in a blue state, that's completely fine. They don't care. They want you to move out.
Yeah. But that's the problem with the whole, if you don't like it, just leave. If all the good people, because we're in good and bad people territory. I'm not mincing that.
Yeah.
If you voted for a Republican in the last decade, you're a piece of shit. And I hope you never have another moment of happiness.
If you didn't see this coming,
but
you're just lying to yourself now. You're not lying to anybody else. You're lying to yourself.
We know you're trash.
You refuse to believe the truth. You're like, no, the world can't be going in that direction.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
I'll just be like, no, it's not that bad.
But
congratulations.
The problem with, if you don't like it, leave, is if all those good people leave, what does that leave the state? You're letting these clowns, run around and get away with whatever they want. And I can't imagine what it's like to stay. But I don't know what I would do if I was in a red state. Honestly, I would probably, but a lot of people
can't stay. Some people don't.
Some people can't stay, but some people can't leave.
Yeah.
And then they're stuck there. And it's a terrifying concept, really.
100%. And then the irony is that now you start to see why people have left other countries is because they lose everything. You do realize that people who leave their countries, they lost everything to get here. It wasn't because they were like, oh, well, shit's not the greatest here, so I'm just
going to move.
No. This is a warning for every migrant that wants to come to the United States right now.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It is not good here. That American dream that I was, sold on when I was young, and I still didn't even comprehend what the fuck
it American never existed. Meant.
But it wasn't for you. It wasn't for people of color. I'm gonna just put that out there. The American dream was not made for the people of color. And for when our video goes on YouTube, I will put there and I'll translate it so people who might not even understand fully what we're saying can at least understand that part. The American dream wasn't made for us. The American dream was made for white people, wealthy white people. Yeah, not every white person. Because even
the American dream was never it was never a real thing. At least not in our lifetimes or even our parents' lifetimes.
It was a real thing, but not for
way
everybody.
Back in the day.
There was. It's like the fine print. They give you the big bold letters, and then they left the fine print in very small, so you couldn't even tell it was there. But it was there. It was just nobody knew about it because nobody read about it.
But even the illusion of the American dream is gone at this point.
It is. That doesn't even exist anymore.
Other countries are getting concerned because we are burning ourselves alive from the inside out, and they don't know what to do about it, because it's not like any other country can offer us aid or can take matters into their own hands. We'd obliterate them. We would absolutely obliterate them.
Yeah.
And we are stuck here by ourselves, and other countries and people in other countries are genuinely concerned. Honestly, if I was not American, I'd be laughing my ass off and saying, getting what you deserve.
Yeah.
Luckily, people, maybe not countries as a whole, but other people are looking, going, holy shit, I'm terrified for the Americans, the people.
Yeah.
Not the politicians, not the government, not the military, but the everyday people who are having to live through this. Because these things that are happening have so many worse repercussions than just what we see now. Because we forget, some people forget, and sometimes I even forget, Roe v. Wade was part of a bigger issue. Again, right to privacy.
Yes.
Right to privacy, all these things. Which once one of those things starts to fall, other things fall like dominoes. They've already made it clear they want to go after gay marriage.
Yes.
They want to go after gay relationships on their own. They want to go after schools that are the desegregation of schools. They want to go after interracial relationships.
Oh, no, excuse me. They don't want to go after that because Clarence Thomas knew that affected him. So he said, I'm not going to fight
but
that.
He's okay with fighting it as long as there is a clause grandfathering in existing relationships. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And once one goes, it's a lot easier to start striking down the other ones on the same basis. Because the basis, again, that they struck Roe v. Wade down was it's not in the Constitution, therefore the state should decide. Which, if they do the same thing with all these other rulings, what do we think is going to happen here? And you want, honestly, that's the Civil War. Was all about states' rights. it was the state's rights to own other humans as property, but it was states' rights is what it came down to. And we are on such a fucking slippery slope. We're not even on like a slope. We're at it like a Griffin drop incline at this point. Like it's
100%.
It is out of fucking control. And the number of people who even today, 2015, 2016, they called us all crazy. They said, oh, you're just being dramatic. It's not that big a deal. You just don't like him. You're a sore loser. And then it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And you're just dramatic. It's not that bad. You're just not getting your way. Suck it up, snowflake. Well, guess what? It keeps getting worse. We were right the whole time. And we're not going to get gaslit anymore.
They don't want to admit they were wrong. Very few people actually had the balls to be like, I was wrong when I voted for Trump. I'm not voting for him this time around. Yeah. Which is good. They did. They didn't.
And there's people who voted for him because they didn't like Hillary. Well, you didn't like Hillary because she was too smart for you and she was a woman, but that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But you voted for Trump because you thought, oh, it's different. He's going to shake up politics. Well, look where the fuck we are.
Yeah. And by the way, Trump's little princess, the same Trump that was like, yeah, I put these 3 people in so they could end Roe v. Wade. His little princess also had an abortion.
Oh, the number of...
I bet you didn't know that, and I bet you don't like hearing that, huh?
The number... Who was the other... Whichever, but there's been plenty.
The House representative, yeah, she also had an abortion.
And she was a sex worker. Which again,
we don't care.
We
about
don't
that
care
part.
if you were a sex worker.
Whatever.
We care about the hypocrisy.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sure she probably would be against sex work.
She absolutely is.
Well, then there you go. A sex worker who's against sex work and
people who've had abortion,
who's now against abortion. But I bet they weren't against it when they had to get one.
Well, and I bet all the senators and representatives and general men at large who had to pay off women that they impregnated so they would go get abortions, who then voted to outlaw abortions, talk about hypocrisy. Right. But it doesn't affect them because they'll always be able to afford that for their mistresses or the people they sexually assault. It's never going to be an issue for them. It's just going to be an issue for the people who actually need it as healthcare. But yeah, so that's the state of the world right now.
Not the state of the world. This is the state of the United States.
State of our little world.
But it right now it just comes down to, we have elections that are important. Elections are always important because there's always going to be people that are going to want to take all these things that we worked so hard for. They're going to want to take it away. And I'm tired of hearing the bullshit of, for these Republicans, for these, people on the right, we have to just be nice to them. There's no more playing nice. There's no
being nice is how we got where we are.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the general populace understands that American democracy, not that it was ever a true democracy, is hanging by a fucking thread. And when it comes down to voting in November this year, if the Democrats cannot get a firm grasp on the Senate and the House, this country is fucked. And that is not hyperbole. Because if you think for a fucking second that they're stopping with the abortion thing or even the gay marriage thing, they're not. They are coming for everything they can get.
Anything that fits their agenda.
And everybody's like, you're just being dramatic. We are not being dramatic. The writing is out there. They're saying these words with their own mouths. They're making it very clear.
They made it very clear from the beginning, and they were like, no, this is just... And this is what pissed me off, is every time after it was leaked, it was like, they're just leaving it up for the states. It was never for the states to choose. That was the biggest problem right there. But it quit saying, it was just like...
It's not something that should be chosen by a government body. It is between the person with the uterus and their physician. That's what it comes down to. And also people aren't getting, this is about your medical stuff. Guess what? HIPAA can go get fucked because you no longer have a right to privacy in your medical stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know there were some amazing, wonderful, talented Gen Z kids who doxed the Supreme Court. Social security numbers, addresses, credit cards, the whole thing. Oh my God, I can't believe that privacy. If we don't get privacy, neither do they.
Yeah, this works both ways. Just saying.
How's that? Yeah. Because guess what? If your privacy goes away, so does your voting history. We get to see everybody who you've ever voted for. Oh, your privacy goes away. We get to know how much money you have, who you know, who you work with, what you've got in your house. We can find all that out because privacy does not exist. And I don't think people realize that is the slope we are going down.
And not to, strive away from the conversation of women's rights, because this also has to do with women. I have a family member.
And just to clarify, we understand that there are people who are not women who have a uterus and this does affect them, that they can get pregnant. And please forgive the use of women's rights. We're very angry and we're trying here. So we do acknowledge it's not just women that are affected by this.
Right. But going back to how much of a hard-on most Americans get from guns. After what happened, and in every shooting, and they're like, guns is not the answer. And instead of fixing a problem, which the United States has had multiple opportunities to do, instead of, let's fix the problem with Roe v. Wade, let's just codify it right now, and then it's never going to be a problem, right? You had the option, you didn't do it. You have shootings happening in supermarkets, in churches, in schools. And instead of fixing the problem, once more, you guys look for excuses. Well, let's just put bulletproof backpacks on the kids. Right. That's not going to traumatize them.
There was a TikTok of some crazy gun lunatic. And honestly, at this point, you're a fucking crazy gun lunatic. I have no time for you. Took kids' backpacks, a little pink backpack like you'd see on a second or third grader, and put one of those little bulletproof shields in it, sent it down the range, and was just holding on it with a gun. And just to show how... Do you fucking see what you're doing? You were shooting at a child's backpack because you know there's a good chance that child's going to get shot at in their school.
And by the way, when the shooting happened, most kids were in classrooms.
You don't have your backpack on in a classroom?
Backpack on a classroom. And what? So the rule is, okay, there's a shooting, everybody grab your backpack, and what? Lose a limb instead of,
And what about all the kids that can't afford a fancy bulletproof backpack?
But it's just crazy that it's right there and they still don't get it. It's right in their fucking face.
The fact that after Uvalde, Canada was like, enough's enough. We don't want this happening here. And they instantly, no more assault rifles. And I know there was more to it, but no more assault rifles. And it's a mandatory buyback. Give it back. We're done.
Yeah. They had more balls in the United States because, again, the United States won't, there's men here and women, but there's mostly men here that they cannot get hard unless they're holding onto their gun at night. I don't understand. But what angers me is that, again, instead of finding or instead of doing their job, the government, instead of doing their job and rectifying this and making sure that this doesn't happen, or, let's go into the process so it happens less and less and less, and to the point that it no longer happens. It's no longer a problem, right? Instead of doing that, you're going to say, arm the teachers. I have a family member who's a teacher, and I'm not going to mention her by name. I'm not going to mention the school, nothing. She doesn't want guns.
Teachers don't want guns.
They don't want guns. It's not their responsibility.
They are treated like shit, paid like shit. And the shit that they are expected to do as it is insane. And now you're saying, well, we're going to train them to shoot guns so they can just murder their fucking students if they become a threat. Are you kidding me?
It's like saying, hey, I'm a secretary, some person that sits on a fucking office chair. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I've never had a job like that, so I can't tell you exactly what it is. Or say you're an IT person, but guess what? Nobody wants to clean the bathroom, so now IT has to learn to do, all these hygiene stuff, and now you have to go over there and start cleaning.
Since the janitor staff wasn't doing their job, you now have to do it.
Yeah. Nobody wants that. Yeah. Nobody wants to do it. So why are we forcing teachers to do something that they're no longer concerned with.
But
are you really going to tell me that if another student that graduated God knows how many years ago and the teacher's still there, and that student decides, oh well, you know what, I'm going to shoot up, or whoever, someone in the town, whatever, goes to shoot up the school, you're going to tell me that the teacher is going to be braver than the cops?
Well, and I guess they usually are. But where does it end? Because they're saying, okay, well, we're gonna train the teachers. Oh, so why can't everybody who wants a gun go through training? Why does it have to be just the teachers? Oh, we're gonna give them handguns. Well, the other guys got an Uzi. So what's the teacher gonna do? We're gonna give them a fucking Rambo rifle. She can wear like a goddamn string of bullets across her chest. Like what? Where does it stop? Like any other country that has ever had a mass shooting in a school, or even that, instantly ban the assault rifles, get the guns off the street. And guess what? It fucking works. It fucking works.
But that's a problem when you don't try and fix the problem. You're trying
because they don't want to fix the problem.
That's the thing. They're trying to find every way around it instead of fixing
because
a problem
they're getting paid too much.
Rule.
They're getting paid too much by the gun manufacturers. Because bribing politicians is now protected speech, allegedly. And going with teachers, what the fuck? The Supreme Court just ruled that teachers are now okay to lead students in prayer in public schools.
Because that's their priority.
But here's
religion.
But here's my thing. It's religion. Okay, let's take that route. What's the first thing that's going to happen when a teacher sets up a little statue of Baphomet and says, okay, friends, let's do our affirmations? That's not going to be okay because we're not that religion.
Oh.
Or what about the fact that Judaism, which is, a respected religion, along with the Satanic Temple, which is a federally recognized religion, both have portions in their religion that protects a woman's right, or a person with a uterus right, to an abortion. It is in their religion. So by that, anybody who is Jewish or a member of the Satanic Temple, and there could be other religions as well, has the right to an abortion. Who the fuck is the United States government to take that away? Because the Christians don't like it. Where does it stop? Who is it good for? Because it sure seems like just the white, cisgender, heterosexual Christians are the only people who are getting their religion taken care of. Because let me tell you, I could become a teacher tomorrow to go lead a fucking circle with a bunch of kids just to watch the parents lose their minds.
And I bet you they'd probably like that more than Christian or Christianity school or any of these private schools that are Catholic. Because let me tell you.
Well, that was another thing the Supreme Court did. I think if it was, I don't remember if it was New York or where it was, but there was, I don't know if it was Supreme Court or another court, whatever, said that basically funding for schools, like it can't just go to public schools and it can't just go to secular schools. It also needs to go to religious schools. I wish I had
public or private.
So you're using public taxpayer money to fund essentially Christian schools. So if
there's one thing that the United States is very good at is using public taxpayers' money for everything but what the taxpayers need.
But the town that was in, and it's escaping me at the moment, but the city where that happened, where they said, no, you have to allocate money to the religious schools, they said, fine, we're going to do an across-the-board rule. If you discriminate against people based on their skin color, their religion, their sexual orientation, their gender, we will not give you any money. So if you discriminate, no money. Right. And that was every school in the city. Well, guess what? Those two religious schools aren't getting any money because they're like, oh, we have to respect people. Fuck that. So there you go. Problem solved. But what does that fucking tell you about the good Christians? There is no hate in this world like Christian love. So yeah, come 2024, we're in trouble because if Joe Biden does not do a single thing that he promised he would do, any of it, he's not gonna get reelected because he has now pissed off everybody who did vote for him in good faith.
Oh, no. Joe Biden has it a whole lot worse than that. It's not about, if he doesn't do a single thing that he said he would. No. And other people who, consider themselves Democrats, moderates, whatever the fuck. Joe is now going to go down in history as one of the worst Democratic presidents, because not only has he not done any of the things he said he vowed he was going to do, because I don't know, did you really think that if you didn't, you'd just get reelected again? I don't think so. You don't have to worry about the Democrats, but you do have to worry about the moderates. But now you pissed off the Democrats because, one, you let Roe v. Wade fall, and you're refusing to pack the courts because they're clearly not, centered. They're not like, oh, we should talk about this, and oh, maybe we hit a tie or anything. You haven't done any of that. Not even the Democrats in the House or the Senate. None of you are safe. This isn't just a Joe Biden thing. None of you are safe because nobody can apparently come to a conclusion that what the president did was not okay. Okay?
And by president, we mean Trump.
Trump. What he did was not okay. They're still doing an investigation about him. How many years ago was that?
There is no reason to keep investigating. We all saw it happen. The proof is there.
It's already there. I mean, there's more proof now, but it's I don't know how much more proof people need besides what he did that everybody from the beginning was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
The big issue with Joe Biden is that people voted him not because, we want to vote for Joe Biden. We voted for him because we could not vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Not saying we would have. But the point being is, and this again, it falls to the Democratic national whatever fuckery.
Because God forbid if I hear one more time the Democrats fucking withheld someone who people actually wanted to become president.
Here. And like 2016, yes, we all know Hillary won the popular vote. But if the Democrats had the slightest iota of intelligence, you make Bernie her running mate. If they had done that, we would have won in a walk. But instead what they did was refuse to let Bernie have that nomination that he rightfully deserved. And you pissed off all of those people. So then all your Democratic socialists and people went third party, which again, fuck third party voters. But at the time, we did not know how bad it could be. Right. We knew it was going to be ugly. We didn't know it was going to be this bad.
And here's the thing. You keep pretending, and by you, I mean the Democratic Party. You keep pretending. I was like, they have no other choice. You're not going to win. You're going to lose. And it's not because of the people not voting for you. Well, you're pressing us. You're putting us in the corner. What are you expecting us to do?
They put forward Joe Biden for this election.
We literally voted for Joe Biden because there was nobody else.
Yeah. But they put forth Joe Biden because in their minds, we're going to pick a nice, smiling old man. They knew he was Obama's vice president, but he's not like liberal. So like the conservative, like the moderates and the little, who are on the edge, maybe conservatives that don't like Trump, they'll vote for him too, because he's not like threatening to them in any way. And like, okay, I get that to a point. But then Jesus Christ, the promises he did make, the student loans, all these things that he put out there to try to entice those young people to vote for, a geriatric man that has nothing in common with them. He's not even doing that. The fact that Democrats still refuse to use the powers that they do hold. How many fucking executive orders did Trump pull out of his ass? So many. Where the fuck is Biden executive ordering saying, no, women can get abortion? Or no, I am going to cancel this much student debt. Where are those executive orders that are in his power to do?
He has a choice before the next election. And that's do something or label yourself. You're going to have that label. Just like Trump was one of the most worst presidents that ever existed.
Oh, if Biden doesn't do shit and these Democrats and these people in Congress right now don't do shit, it will fall on Joe. Joe Biden will be responsible for the fall of American democracy. And yes, did he do it himself? No. But did he do anything to stop it? Also no.
Complicit.
You are complicit. You are complacent with the way things are. This is a fucking refrain I'm tired of saying. I am so tired.
And here's the thing.
I can't.
And here's the thing. We're going to go to the polls come November. We are going to fight. But God forbid.
And we're going to vote for the Democrats. Because we don't have a choice.
God forbid you guys do not do your part. It's over. It's over. Like, it's done. That's all I'm hearing online. If you think it's just, oh, this is just a small group. No, I'm hearing it left, right, center, everywhere. In every state, whenever I hear, people talk about the Democratic Party, even if they are Democrats, they're getting sick and tired of it. You can't just be like, vote for us and then not do anything. We're going to put you in power, but you have to act like this. I don't care who you offend. I don't care what Fox News has to say. None of us, it's not just me, none of us care about what those, right-wing, Jesus cocksucking people have to do. Excuse my language. That's what they do. Okay? They're not actually religious. I came from a very religious family. My uncle is extremely religious. He doesn't think anything of he doesn't believe the shit that's happening here in America. Because he's like, this is not religion. This is whatever they want to pretend religion is. It's not. So when you come at me and say, well, you have no basis in saying this, I came from a religious family. I understood religion.
As did I.
As her. And we both came to the understanding of, oh, this isn't religion. This is kind of a little crazy. So get your shit together, Democrats. Because right now, I think the most popular Democrat that I know of is AOC.
AOC and Bernie.
Yeah.
And Katie Porter.
Yes,
I would die Katie Porter.
God bless. If she ran up for president next year, I'll absolutely vote for her. This
is where I feel like the Democrats have become so complacent, is because they have it in their heads, well, we're just going to vote for them because they're not the bad guys. You're going to run out of that.
No, Democrats are a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, but they're going to run out of that. Because they think they can just get elected because they're not the bad guys, sit in their seats and not do anything.
No.
You get one more election at that.
Yeah.
And at that point, we have now all learned you will never do anything. And there is no reason for us to try to hang on.
Yeah. Nobody likes the evildoers. Evildoers, if we're going to be religious about whatever the fuck. But we also don't want wimpy ass people who are not going to do anything about it. So Joe Biden has, and this is just me putting into words because maybe other people are just scared to say it out loud. Joe Biden has this last election to do something about it, to fix the problems that Trump did and fix what's happening now. Okay? Prosecute the man, all right? I don't give a fuck who stands in court, whether it's a woman, a man, a person of color, it does not matter. If they lied to get into their seat of power, make a law tomorrow. I don't care if there's a fucking spelling error in it. Do it as soon as you can and make sure that these people are taken out because they're liars. They don't deserve to be part of the judicial system, not even the lowest court. If they can't say the fucking honest truth on fucking camera, they're literally it's there.
I firmly believe that the reason they haven't done that yet is because if they make laws that concern ethics and perjury and all these things, let me finish because I can see it in your eyes. You're going to lose 80% of everybody. And the reaction is, okay, good. But that's why they're not going to do it.
We're changing. But this country is changing. Everything else is around us is changing. Climate's changing. Everything is changing, and we're not moving fast enough.
Nope.
So you have two options. You either change, whether you're like, oh, I'm scared of what these people change. Some people don't know what's good for them until they have it, and then they're like, oh. There are people, and this is true. There are Americans who have left this fucking country, okay, and they went somewhere else, and they didn't realize, wow, I
didn't know life could be like this.
It's crazy.
I mean, I even asked you, I'm like, hey, don't you have family we can go live with in the DR?
But that's the thing. Fix the problem. You know what needs to be done. Do it. Because people are going to complain about it until they're like,
until they realize how much it benefits them.
I shot off my hand with my gun because I was being stupid, and you're going to tell me that
I don't have a medical bill for it?
This is going to cost me like $200? I thought I was going to get a bill of $5,000. $200? I have $200 right now. I'll pull it out of my ass if you need to. I'm sure there's coins in there. But that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to just make a lighthearted joke.
I get you.
Even though I'm not smiling because I'm over it. I'm pissed.
It's more the idea of somebody having coins in their prison wallet.
But that's the thing. You have the chance to fix it. And if you don't do it now, It's all over.
Yeah,
and you have nobody else to complain. Oh, well, nobody's voting Democrat.
Wonder why?
It's the people we put in power. We put you all in power.
The Democrats are not putting forth anybody that we can trust and believe in.
I want to hear every fucking Democrat, senator, House representative out there having speech. Well, this person's not doing a speech. I don't give a damn. I want you guys to do whatever you can. All right, Biden has the power. Do it. And what's that old senator, the leader of the Republican House? I forget his fucking name because I hate him so much. Yeah, and if he does it, can one of you senators just go up there, bitch slap him, wait until he goes to like the hospital because he was assaulted.
I mean,
and then just continue and do the fucking law because
like Rudy Giuliani's pat on the back that he felt like he was shot.
Man,
that's a whole other story. We can't.
If you want to talk religiously, that man's the devil, and he kind of looks like it every time they take a picture of him.
The Satanists don't appreciate that analogy.
I'm sure you don't, but here's the thing. We're gonna call it what it is.
It's fine. I'll allow it.
You. That's all I'm saying. You guys have to do something about it because if you don't do it now,
we're losing this country, and we're gonna lose it very fast, and it's gonna be very ugly, and people don't get it. So fucking educate yourselves for the love of Christ, because I am exhausted. I am so tired of having all of my conversations centering around what new fuckery has the court, the Senate, the House, the president, the ex-president, the president's wife, mistress, babysitter. I don't fucking care. Like, I'm so tired of it. And I don't think, especially like really young people, don't remember that politics like this didn't used to be a thing. The government kind of chugged along. And, occasionally there would be something big that we'd want to talk about. But for the most part, it just kind of went along, and only like the political nerds cared. Because that's how it's supposed to be. You should not, in a functioning society, have to be this involved and aware and vigilant about how your country is running. In a normal society, things would churn on. It would all be boring business. Once in a while, something big would come up. Whatever. This isn't normal. We shouldn't have to face a new, reduction in our rights or a new threat or a new whatever the hell it is every fucking week. And it's not even like it's weekly anymore. Now it's like they're getting 3 a day. It's insane. No functioning society operates like this. No respectable country in this world operates like this. And Americans need to wake the fuck up and realize that you point the finger at the Middle East or at third world countries or wherever it may be. Honey, they're living better than we are. Even in these very what you consider or claim to be violent, like Arabic countries, most of them still have ways for women to get an abortion if the woman's life is in danger. Or they have, in these countries that you call third world countries, more respect for people of different orientations or different religions. We are on a violent backslide, and the rest of the world is terrified watching it happen. They are terrified for us, and they are terrified for what we're going to do to try to keep our world power status. And it is terrifying, and I'm fucking exhausted.
So if you can do anything, spread this out. Even if you don't want to share our video, if you don't want to share or whatever, at least talk about it. At least spread it out. At least let everybody know that we want change and we did what we could, and now it's their turn. And I hope to God that my voice, whoever's voice, that feels the same can get these Democrats out in Washington, because shit's going to get bad. And what's going to happen and I'm talking from experience, because at the end of the day, believe it or not, human beings are just another type of animal. Mm-hmm. And when you push an animal into a corner, it's going to lash out. You're not going to like what you see. And I'm not saying this is a threat. I'm saying this is what happens.
It's what's going to happen.
Okay? This is literally what happens to an animal. You grab a dog, a cat, anything that doesn't trust you, and you put it into a corner,
it's over.
It's over.
And that's where we are at this point. You're backing a whole bunch of people into a corner, and it's not going to be okay. And it's exhausting, and we're all tired of talking about it.
But it needs to be talked
about. But it needs to be talked about. And it doesn't matter that I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go through this again. You keep talking about it and you stay angry about it, because the second you stop, that's when you too become complacent. And there is no room for that now.
So we're going to sign off with that. Please spread the word. And God bless this country, because it's
God isn't real.
Yeah.
But I hope hell is, and I hope every one of you good Christians who are doing these things suffer in it for eternity.
Bye.